So there are three different types of symmetries that are seen in these organisms. Ya to they will have no symmetry, they will be like just like that. They will be like anyhow without any symmetry, like many sponges are asymmetric. They can have a radial symmetry or they can have a bilateral symmetry. In organisms with a radial symmetry like sponges, many of these ctenophores, sea anemones, jellyfishes have radial symmetry. Even the starfishes have radial symmetry. If there is a central axis that passes through the center of the organism, a plane passing through the central axis of the organism can divide the organism into two equal halves. In any direction you can pass the plane through the central axis in radial symmetry. In case of bilateral symmetry, like in humans, there is a central axis and you can divide me into two parts only in a single plane through the axis. So that is called as bilateral symmetry. Most of the porifera are asymmetric. Some few sponges are also radial symmetric. Cnidarians and ctenophores are mainly with radial symmetry. Then they start becoming bilateral symmetry because mainly these forms were evolved in water. So in water it suited them to have a radial symmetry, and then they started becoming of bilateral symmetry as and how they started coming out of the water. You also see that radial symmetry is found in most of the echinoderms, and then it starts becoming bilateral towards here. So how come it is like that, if this is the line of evolution, why is it that these guys were radial and then became bilateral? All of a sudden there is a radial, once again radial and again bilateral. We have a lot to do with the echinoderms, but we have nothing to do with the mollusks and the cockroaches, etc. of the arthropods. Okay, we have absolutely no connection, but we have a lot of connection with the echinoderms. So probably it so happened that as life was evolving at one side with the sponges and the cnidarians, etc., somewhere along the line evolution also started at another place and it gave rise to new beings altogether. It's not necessary, that all these phyla have to evolve from one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. Probably it means that as the sponges were evolving into cnidarians, ctenophores and the annelids, elsewhere also the evolution was taking place in the form of starfishes, and they slowly evolved into the hemichordates and then the chordates. Because evolutionary and genetically we do find that we have a lot to do with the echinoderms, but we have nothing to do with the mollusks and the arthropods. Okay? And since there is a radial symmetry here, and which is becoming bilateral symmetry like that. The second basis of classification, that is symmetry. Asymmetry. Asymmetry is found in many sponges and organisms like adult snail, because in adult snail the body of the snail is coiled inside its shell in such a manner that if you cut it into two pieces it will not be two equal halves. Okay, so that's asymmetry. Then we have the radial symmetry. Any plane that passes through central axis of body divides the animal into two equal halves, and this one is seen in the cnidarians, ctenophores, echinoderms. And then we have the bilateral symmetry. Body is divided into two equal halves only in one plane. An example, platyhelminths, askelminths, annelids, arthropoda, hyophylla. All the hyophylla will have bilateral symmetry. So that was the symmetry. In the next video, we're going to see the other criteria used by Whittaker for classification of animals.